Hey everyone, today I have a question for you, and the question is, how can you take fear and anxiety and that thing that's holding you back and turn it into something that will actually make you perform better? How can you channel your fear and turn it into action in a way that makes you be one of the best performers you've ever been? And particularly when you're doing something like this, I'm making a video and you get in front of the camera and you're feeling all this anxiety and you're thinking, I don't know, I don't even know if I'm going to hit the record button. What can you do in that moment where you're feeling that part of you that wants to hold back? How can you channel that in a way so that when you do hit record, you're going to show up in this very powerful way? So this is what I want to share with you today. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to share a story. And this is a story from when I was in high school. So how many of you out there watching this video look back at your high school days and go, oh my gosh, I never want to do that again. Like, that was terrible. Well, I had that kind of experience. I went to a private school, and it was, if you've ever seen the movie Dead Poets Society, my high school was very much like the school that was portrayed in that film. Very conservative, very much taking a bunch of young people and turning them into something that they really didn't want to be. And that was what was going on for me. So I had this teacher who was a French teacher in high school. And in his class, we always had to sit in the same seat, row by row. And the seats were literally bolted into the floor, so you couldn't move them around anyway. But we're always like assigned seats. You always had to sit in one place in the same order. And then he would take the textbook that we were studying, and there would always be exercises, and he would go through those exercises one at a time, around the room, one at a time, in order, and you could always look. He'd be asking questions, and you could always look at the textbook and go, well, he's over there. I can tell like five questions from now, this is the question that I'm going to be asked, and you'd always know, like, what is the question that he's going to come to you with? And of course, with that knowledge would be the knowledge of, if you didn't know the answer, you'd be knowing, oh no, he's going to ask me this question, and I haven't got any idea what the right answer is. And of course, so you'd be sitting there sweating, nervous, anxious, oh my gosh, doom is coming closer and closer. And then of course he comes to you, asks you this question, and you need to kind of stumble through the answer in French. Like in this class, we weren't allowed to speak English, so I'd have to go, je ne sais pas, I don't know. And of course, it was this big, long, humiliating experience. And as a result, for a long time, I hated the class, I hated French, it really turned me off. And in fact, what that does for me now is there are moments when anytime I'm in a situation where I have to wait my turn before I make a presentation, or if we're going around in a circle and introducing ourselves, like so often happens at networking meetings, everybody's in a circle and this person goes and this person goes and this person goes, and all the time I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and how I want to come up with something clever and entertaining for this group of people. And I get triggered. I get triggered in exactly the same way. So my point of all of this is sharing this story is that, first of all, you want to recognize when you're being triggered. And of course, for many of us, getting in front of a camera like I'm doing right now is a trigger. As I have just demonstrated, like I could be feeling really anxious about getting in front of the camera today. And then I could be wanting to procrastinate and not do it. And what I have just done is I just related a story about fear and anxiety, a true story for me. And by going into that story, like jumping in and beginning by telling that story, I don't have to think about it. I know the story. Like this is something that happened to me. In fact, I can tell it in minute detail if I choose to. It's easy for me to remember. I'm not trying to, turn my cogs and say, oh, what am I going to say next or anything like that. The story can just flow. And because the story is the kind of thing that is a common experience, pretty much all of you probably went to high school. And let me hear if that's true. Like in the comments, say, I went to high school. And if you didn't go to high school, say in the comments, nope, never went there. Maybe you were homeschooled, I don't know. But this is a universal thing which makes me, in telling this story, relatable. So when you're making a presentation and when you're opening up your video, you can tell a story that makes you relatable, and it will help you get through that initial period of butterflies and help you get through that initial period of, oh my gosh, I'm in front of a camera, what do I do now? And just tell this story that is basically a part of your truth and that makes you relatable to the people who are watching. And if you really want to like nail this and get really good at doing video, I go so much deeper in the group program that I run. And so not only are we talking about how to get over anxiety and how to do sort of the next step thing of like telling stories and what are the stories that you could be telling, but more importantly, how do you actually engage people who are listening to your video and watching what you're doing so that you can continue that conversation with them and turn them into people who know you and like you and trust you and are interested in fact, working with you. This is all possible to do on video like this. So if you're interested in learning more about how to do that, I would love to talk with you about it. The program is called Big Reach Video, and if you would like to get a much bigger reach in terms of not only reaching more people, but actually being able to reach out and connect with them, then write in the comments, I want a big reach. Or just simply say, hey Brad, I'd love to talk, and I'll come back to you and I'll set up a virtual coffee chat or tea chat. I always have my tea handy, and we'll have a little Zoom call, and we'll talk about all the different ways that video could be used for growing your business, and of course, probably the one thing that you should be doing first. So that's what I have for you today, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. So long, everybody.